Shalom, shalom, Havrim. Uh, so I'm gonna try to make these small snippet videos of what my wife and I tested today. Okay, so we tested against the Torah, something I learned in seminary that is biblical as biblical can be. The scriptures are, as we're told in seminary, the Bible, the scriptures are what we are to measure. They are the standard, the plumb line by which we are to measure everything pertaining to beliefs, ideas, comportment, behavior, everything. Okay, so let's test Shaul against Torah in context. Okay, so for example, let's test what Shaul says, that one regards one day and another regards another day. Okay, so if Shaul is adhering to Torah, then he's teaching correctly. If Shaul is not adhering to Torah, he's teaching incorrectly. Now, what is the one regards one day and another regards another day? Okay, every single person that is knowledgeable about the context of that part of Scripture understands that Shaul was speaking to believers that were once bickering about the days, the mandatory fast dates. Okay, days. I mean that these and forgive my my shirtlessness. It's very hot today. It's very hot, and I live in an apartment with no AC. Okay, so one set of believers wanted to observe the mandatory fasting of these 2 days, and other believers wanted to observe the mandatory fasting of other days. So Shaul says, don't bicker with each other, because one regards one day and another regards another day. It's no big deal. Okay, now Torah, when it comes to fasting, there's no mandatory fasting in Torah. Let's see. Is there mandatory fasting? As far as I remember, off the top of my head, I would say that Messiah says to fast in secret. You don't need to do a group fast. You don't need to do a fast on a certain day. You just fast in secret. Okay? Don't even tell anybody you're doing it. Don't even show the signs that you're fasting. Okay, so that's Torah. Messiah is Torah. Messiah is the living Torah. So Messiah would not have said, "Oh, you fast on this day, you fast on it's cool, whatever." He would have said, "You know what? You're both wrong. You want to fast, you want to do a mandatory fast, and you want to do a mandatory fast. You're both wrong. Okay? Fast in secret, and stop boasting, and stop talking about what days you fast, and be done with it." Period. That's what Messiah would say. Now, okay, as Kephas says, as Shimon Peter says, that the unstable will misinterpret Shaul's words to their destruction. Have they? Yes. If you ask any Christian, they'll say that when you tell them about obeying Shabbat, obeying the Sabbath, they'll say, no. Paul says, you regard this day and I regard this day, and Christians will even say, I go to church every single day. I'm doing, Sabbath every single day because, JESUS is our Sabbath. The commandment of the eternal day of Sabbath is a commandment, and it's Yah does not change. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and Yah's commandments do not change. Okay? So right there it shows that Shaul's words have been used by the unstable to their destruction. Okay? That's one thing that my wife and I tested. Okay, let's test, but in context. Shaul is saying that these people want to do a mandatory fast on this day, and these people want to do another fast on another day. Okay, let's test another thing. Okay, in the book of Revelation, most understand that it was Yehukanan the beloved that was the writer, and so the beloved, the closest, the most beloved of the Talmudim disciples of Yahusha was Yehukanan, okay? And he's writing in Ephesus. He's writing in Revelations. Messiah himself is speaking to the Messianic community in Ephesus, okay? Now, he says, I'm not reading my notes, I'm just going to say it. He says that he commends them for everything they're doing. He commends them for everything they're doing, especially for kicking out those who claim to be apostles and who are liars, okay? That is what he says to Ephesus, okay? Shaul was in Ephesus. Ephesus is in Asia Minor, okay? Shaul indeed says he was kicked out of Asia Minor. Acts 16:6 says that the Ruach HaKodesh prevented Shaul from preaching in Asia Minor, okay? So then he went off somewhere else, okay? If the Ruach HaKodesh prevents you, that should tell you something, okay? The letter, and then later he has a letter to the Ephesians. Well, according to the Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach HaKodesh did not want to permit Shaul from preaching there. And the Ruach does and reminds of everything that Messiah has taught, and Messiah only speaks what the Father has given him. So there's two tests right there, and the Christians indeed always misquote the book of Ephesians to their destruction. So those two simple tests with historical context, a little bit of sleuthing, show that Shaul is not okay. Here's another important one. Remember in Revelation, Yahusha is saying through his revelation, through his beloved Yehukanan, he says, I'm gonna catch you, some of you, eating pork. I'm gonna catch you eating pork, and woe to those that I catch eating pork. And another really important one, that Messiah himself in Revelation, again to another one of the churches, he says that you are still allowing people to eat food sacrificed to idols. Well, if I remember off the top of my head, we didn't get to the notes on this part yet, but if I remember off the top of my head, and if I remember from the research that the Brother Justin of Christian Truthers did, it was Pergamum, okay? And that was okay, I don't want to say exactly, but off the top of my head, in Revelation, the Messiah rebukes one of the churches for allowing people to eat food that is sacrificed to idols. Now, if Messiah says that it is not good to eat food sacrificed to idols, why does Shaul say it's no big deal? Okay? Messiah says that he wants you not to eat food sacrificed to idols, okay? And Shaul, being an ex-Pharisee, he insists that his prayer is going to make whatever pork or whatever food clean, okay? Even if it's idols, because idols are pieces of wood and it's no big deal. Well, if it's no big deal to Paul, but it's a big deal to Messiah, that he rebukes that church for still allowing people to eat food sacrificed, okay? And Messiah brings up in Revelations that he's going to be furious when he catches people eating pork. Okay? And the unstable, the ignorant, the lawless, they take Shaul's word over Messiah's word. Okay? Think later in time. We did this little thing about when Yehukanan is the beloved is writing Revelation in 96 CE or AD or whatever, and Shaul was thought to have been killed in 64 CE AD, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so Shaul's terrible teachings of eat whatever you want just because you lift it up in prayer. Remember, Scripture says that if you disobey, if you turn your ear away from Torah, if you turn your ears away from the Word, okay, the guidelines and instructions, even your prayer is an abomination. Okay? So let me say this. According to Torah, according to the Bible, according to Scripture, if you disobey any of the guidelines and instructions that are given to you to have life, he says, I give you this, today I give you this so you can have life, so you may live. So choose life and live. Okay? If you disobey, your prayers don't matter. So if you're eating an abomination and you're lifting up the abomination to say, Yah, or G-O-D, I ask you in the name of J-E-S, whatever, clean this food. Yah, not G-O-D, but Yah himself will say, you fool. I told you eternally to never eat pork. It is an abomination. I'm not gonna make that food clean because I've already decreed that it is not clean. So why would I go against my own word and make it clean just because you ask? And let me say this. You're a lawless person. I'm not gonna hear your prayer. So not only am I gonna go against myself and make this thing clean when I've already said it's filthy, I'm not gonna hear your prayer because you're a lawless person. Okay? That is what Scripture says, that Yah thinks of the prayers of the disobedient, lawless ones. He considers even the prayers are an abomination. Okay, so Shaul could lift things up in prayer all he wants, and Yah is not going to hear. Okay, Yah is not going to go against his own word. If he says it, remember he's the Aleph Tav, the beginning and the end. If he says it in the beginning of the book and he says it at the end of the book, that pork is an abomination, that food sacrificed to idols is something that he detests, there's nothing that Shaul Paul could do to change that. Okay, these are just simple tests, folks. Okay? Shaul was kicked out of Asia Minor. He was, like it says in Acts 16:6, that the Ruach HaKodesh prevented him from preaching in Asia Minor. Okay? This is video 1, or this is video 2 or 3 of these little snippets, trying to help out the brother from Christian Truthers. Shalom.